Hey guys, check this out. I just got a hold of the prototype of the brand new Digimon Adventure reboot combining Omegamon Figure. Yeah, that's just not gonna work, is it?
This is Actar's Reviews, from anime to figures and beyond.
Hey, this is Actar and you're watching another episode of Actar's Figure Reviews. Now, I've made two videos regarding this figure in the past. One where I reviewed a bootleg version of this toy, and one where I went through the history of this toy. And in that latter video, I said I wasn't going to review this figure because of how brittle it was. The thing is, I own two versions of this figure, the Japanese version and the US version. While I would still like to keep my Japanese version mint in sealed box, there's really no reason why I can't review the US one. And seeing how Toei can't control themselves when it comes to Omegamon, I really don't see why I should either. If you want to know more about the history of this figure, do check out that aforementioned video. The most important takeaway, however, is that both versions of this figure are rather rare, not only due to limited distribution, but also due to having horrendously brittle plastic. Notice the sparkly pearl white plastic that has resisted the urge to turn yellow despite all the time that's passed? Yep, gold plastic syndrome. Unlike on Chirinmon, this extremely brittle plastic was used throughout the figure on many stress-bearing areas such as screw holes, latches, and hinges. If you were unlucky enough, the plastic could even crumble to dust in the package. As you can see, I've used bits of hard card to serve as makeshift washers to hold the arms and legs of Metal Garurumon in place. In addition, a couple of pegs on the Wargreymon and latches on Omegamon's head have broken off, and the hinge holding Metal Garurumon's tail in place is completely shattered and is barely holding up. Despite all of that, I still think I got off relatively easy. Most of the hard to repair hinges like the one on Wargreymon's front skirt armor are still holding up. So if you're planning on getting this figure secondhand, don't. If you're really on the lookout for one, definitely try to pick one up brand new. Before moving on, I also have to touch on the differences between the US version and the Japanese version. Essentially, the US version is a cheap, watered down version of the Japanese one. Yeah, as if things weren't bad enough. Firstly, the plastic feels slightly cheaper and less vibrant. Secondly, there is a crap ton of missing paint. Missing are Wargreymon's eyes, the red pipes and stripe, the orange upper arm and thighs, the silver claws, the dark blue insides of the Brave Shield, and the white crest of courage on the back. Missing are also Metal Garurumon's blue back and hind legs, red stripe, and silver tail. Thirdly, we have missing accessories. The Omegamon mode is missing a cloth cape that would peg into the inside of Wargreymon's Brave Shield and fold up in Wargreymon mode to contain the extra accessories of the Grey Sword and the Garuru Cannon. And finally, Bandai of America changed the mold to reduce the number of parts. On the Japanese version, the toes of Wargreymon/Omegamon could fan out or collapse depending on the mode to both make the feet more accurate and to conceal the feet on the reverse side. As you can see, they cheaped out a lot when it came to the US figure. What they didn't cheap out on? That damn shiny white plastic! Of all the changes they could have made, they didn't swap out the plastic, which would have made this the definitive version of the figure for fans and collectors, despite the other cost cuts. Production issues aside, let's actually take a closer look at these figures. Starting in Metal Garurumon and Wargreymon mode, they are not very good at all. But frankly speaking, they don't really need to be. Yeah, the Wargreymon figure is actually pretty decent, save for the lack of arms, but normally I'd be bitching about how Metal Garurumon looks nothing like Metal Garurumon with that enlarged head, inaccurate shoulders, wonky proportions, and painfully obvious Omegamon kibble. I'd also be complaining about how the articulation on these figures are horrendous with minimally movable limbs that allow for only the most basic of poses. For Wargreymon, the arms are on ball joints, the shoulders are on ball joints where the elbows can only move up and down and swivel from side to side. The legs cannot be posed at all and they can only swivel from side to side. The feet are ball jointed. And as for Metal Garurumon, his front legs can move forwards and backwards, rotate side to side, and bend at the elbow. The front paws can move, but it does undo this hatch that's meant for the transformation. The rear legs can only move forwards and backwards, no knee articulation, and the rear paws can move up and down, but once again, that's mainly for the transformation. The tail can be posed at these two joints, but I'm really hesitant to do so, and the wings can swing forwards and backwards and move up and down. But I'm not going to be doing that in this video, because these figures were never going to be accurate. They were created purely to satisfy our desire for a figure that represented something important to us fans, and that's the epic moment where Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon, not Greymon and Garurumon, combine to form Omegamon. It's insane, it's bonkers, it's freaking awesome! Speaking of the combination, let's get right to it. Wargreymon! メタルガルルモン合体だStarting with Wargreymon, we remove the Brave Shield and the Wargreymon headpiece that will form Omegamon's left arm. Fold down the front of Wargreymon and remove Omegamon's left shoulder piece. Flip up Wargreymon front skirt armor. Fold down Wargreymon head and shoulders on these sets of hinges. Rotate the arms around. And peg the Dramon killers into Wargreymon front skirt armor very carefully. Turn the figure around, split apart Omegamon's legs, and that's it for Wargreymon. Moving on to Metal Garurumon, we first carefully fold up his tail, remove the top half of Metal Garurumon's head that will form Omegamon's right arm, grab hold of each half of the torso and pull them apart very carefully. Yeah. Flip them open, and pull out Omegamon's head. Rotate Omegamon's head into position and flip it up, lining up the various pegs and tabs. Take the bottom half of Metal Garurumon's head and fold it up into the chest cavity. Connect the two halves of the torso back together. While this does look adorable in its own right, we're not there just yet. Gingerly flip open the two sides of Metal Garurumon and fold up the wings behind them. Bringing Wargreymon back into the picture, we combine the two figures together. Peg Metal Garurumon's legs around Wargreymon's head and fold down his feet. Fold away Metal Garurumon's paws. Fold up the horns on the Wargreymon headpiece. Peg the two headpieces on the respective arms. Peg in the two Brave Shields. And last but not least, we flip down Omegamon's horns. And here he is in Omegamon mode. Once again, there are a crap ton of accuracy issues and the transformation is the definition of forced. But it works! The figure does accomplish what it set out to do. Take two separate Metal Garurumon and Wargreymon figures and combine them into a single Omegamon figure. But just for formality's sake, we have to go through the issues. Firstly, kibble. Unlike the Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon modes, the Omegamon mode fares much better. But that's because all of the kibble is relegated to the back. The thing is, I can't really hold it against this figure, as previously mentioned, the original did come with a cloth cape that did a great job of hiding most of the kibble from the back, save for the Brave Shield. Unfortunately, speaking of the Brave Shield, he does have one inaccurate shoulder, but that's pretty much the result of them trying to find a compromise between the two modes. I suppose Metal Garurumon with a shoulder bearing the crest of courage was a line that they just weren't willing to cross. I do, however, really love how Wargreymon's shoulder armor spikes become Omegamon's waist spikes. Now that's clever. As for missing paint in this mode, he's missing the blue lightning bolts on his head, the red crest of courage on his shoulder, the black of all of his joints, and the two-toned silver paint on his grey sword. And yes, you do have 2 optional accessories for this mode. Simply peg them into the underside of either hand and you have him with his weapons deployed. Sadly, there's just no way you're ever going to get any kind of pose out of them due to the loose joints and the limited articulation. In conclusion, I can't help but love this figure. It's forced, it's contrived, but it gives us exactly what we want. At the risk of losing any and all of my reviewer cred, like I had any to begin with, if you're a Digimon fan, I still think this figure is worth tracking down and owning. This figure is a physical realization of that magical and iconic moment in our wargame. It's also a fascinating piece of Digimon toy history, flaws and all. Of course, because of all those flaws, if you do decide to get one, this figure should be used for display purposes only. If you ask me, while I'd recommend the Japanese version over the US one, due to its rarity, the US version is still a decent enough substitute. If they ever do decide to continue the Digivolving Spirits line, there's no other figure that's more deserving of a remake than this one. With modern day toy technology, I'd bet they could even make an Omegamon figure that's split vertically down the middle a la the symmetrical docking robots from Gaogaiga. Till that day comes, Vizata saying, see you guys in the next episode.